Hello, Dorothea.
Hi, how are you? Oh,
Everyone,
yeah. I
awesome.
always think I'm muted.
No, I can see you and hear you. That's awesome. That's wonderful. Then at least we can have a conversation. We've got Jasmine who's joined us. Either she's having tech issues or she's very shy. And I don't mind at all. Dorothea, what sort of products do you sell and where are you based?
Okay, I'm based in the United States, in Michigan,
Okay.
and in the Detroit area, so a big metropolitan area.
Okay.
And my goal is, and I haven't figured out and I was going to ask you if we could do something like with the blue jean. I have massive amounts of blue jeans.
Okay.
Used recycled blue jeans. So I want to make something with it. And on Pinterest, I see a lot of just the cutest purses made out of blue jeans. And I have probably less than I think, but I have a lot of upholstery fabric.
Mm.
And I thought that would be really cute to incorporate the two of them, whether I make purses or some other product, but I don't know what I want. And so when you offered this class, I thought, what a great idea to do something that, this would be a great class to learn how to price out my things.
Okay. So I think where pricing might actually help you with this conversation is sometimes if you start with the pricing before the product, it gives you the chance to test the business case to see whether making the product is going to be worth it at all. If that makes sense.
Yes, I have an industrial machine that I don't use very often because I'm a little intimidated by it. Mm-hmm. And then at a estate sale, I picked one up, but the plug is messed up, so I don't even know if it works. But I have the equipment. Let's say that.
Okay.
So I'm a sewer, so I have the skill and the equipment, but I don't have the pricing of the product. So yes. So
Okay. Another thing that I like to kind of talk about at this point is what is your need? Do you need the income from these products to live off? Or is the income from these products going to be a nice to have?
Honestly, somewhere in the middle.
Okay. Because that also very often informs our pricing. So, for example, if you're a single mom who's got kids to feed, then the pricing really needs to make sense before you even think about making the product. Whereas if you're not fully dependent on it, you've got some other income, and it's just going to be a supplement to what you're already making, then there is some flexibility in there for possibly charging a lower price for doing something because you love doing it, because you want to use up a resource. So very often understanding your needs is a great place to start from when it comes to product pricing. I know a lot of people, when they look at product pricing, they just go, oh, well, what's the market charging for it? What would people be willing to pay for this? But I always prefer to start the pricing conversation with needs, because that informs urgency and how serious you really have to be about this pricing. And if your needs are acute, if you really need this money for something, then you have to make sure that, one, you're charging enough, and two, that you're selling a product that people are actually willing to pay that amount for, if all of that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm in the situation where like I am a single mom, but my situation allows me to be a little more open to the prices, but I also feel like I don't want to short myself,
Absolutely.
but I don't want to gouge somebody else. And probably the good 6 months or so, a little bit over 6 months, I have time to make product right now. But like I'm kind of stuck on what should I make. You know, a lot of my problem with making purses, I would love to make purses, but what's the market out there? Is the market, is the sellable market? Is it, am I going to make all these purses and then end up having them to give as gifts as friends, you know?
Yes.
Or gifts. So I want to be able to be, and I think that's where a lot of my procrastination comes from, is it's not so much even, because I can learn how to make a purse. That I'm not afraid of. I can come up with, you know, I can look at Pinterest and take 5 purses and make one purse out of these 5 ideas. I'm a visual learner, but am I going to have them sitting in my basement, just sitting there doing nothing?
Yes.
Whether I go on.
Those are very,
oh, sorry.
Those are very, very valid questions to ask. And here I'm going to say something that might sound a little bit unconventional, but if your gut is raising these questions for you, it might already have the answers for you. Are you with me? If your gut right now is saying maybe purses are going to end up just being in my garage to give away as gifts, that might be exactly what's going to play out, because deep down inside, you know that's likely where this is going to go.
Well, I'm not thinking purses in general. I'm thinking in a product in general. I do actually have a quilt business that I do t-shirt quilts, but I got burned out, kind of bored with. I do charge quite a bit more than what other people, I mean, people here in the Detroit area are selling, even there's this company that people have said they send their things to, and people personally told me this, and they charge $200 for, but it's a square quilt, like a very grid. I don't do grid t-shirt quilts. So mine are very unique. I put a lot of time and energy into it. It's not something that, so I do charge a little bit more than what the average person is, but then I've also seen people that are charging what I charge or more even. And because they're serious about this business, the people that are charging a little bit on the lower side are it's like almost like they're manufacturing. They don't care about, you know, the shirts. There's times where I've called the person up, like somebody passed, and I said, did this happen? Did that happen? Because I'm in the, you know, I'm sewing until 2-3 o'clock in the morning and picking up vibes from these t-shirts. And so I'm calling the person up, and they said, well, this is kind of what happened. They open up to tell me what happened to this person who, you know, passed. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just insane that, you know. So, but I got burned out from that product, or from that. And I do have a lot of t-shirts that my goal was to make t-shirt quilts and then sell them. But I'm thinking, again, I'm going to have to be selling them for $200 or less, because no one's going to pay $300-400 for these t-shirt quilts, even though I put the same process in the ones, but I even added process because I went to Salvation Army, I went to the thrift stores and bought all these t-shirts. So then I decided, well, I'll do pillows. And that was a big hit during graduation for the kids with, but I did it personally. I didn't do it to sell it. Because again, I'm so afraid that no matter what I sell, and sometimes I think, I agree with you. Sometimes I think, well, if I sell this product, I think that's part of it. And I think I just need to jump in and just start making a few purses, a few pillows, a little of everything. And then I have all this tons. Matter of fact, I was thinking maybe I could find somebody local to give a lot of this away. Because I cut out the images of the t-shirt, so I had the rest of the t-shirt. I come up with something to do. So I just stumbled upon the other day making beaded jewelry and out of silk scarves. But why can't I make that out of t-shirts? I can make it out of anything. So I'm thinking, well, maybe I'll do something, you know, something like that. But then I would have to now invest in these beads to buy the beads. And then, so I'm sitting here going, do I want to invest any more money? And part of me says, no, I don't want to invest any more money because I've already invested so much time and energy into this, these products that I haven't, or this project that I haven't even done yet with this recycle.
So I always recommend that you start with end use first. I know we all go from a place and want to move forward with pricing, but with pricing, I always go to the end of the story and work back from there. So the first thing you need to ask is, where are you going to sell it? And who are you planning to sell it to? So if you have a market where you can sell, where there are customers who are prepared to pay a premium price for nice, unusual things, then you've got a much better business case than if you're going to be just taking your product to a flea market where people expect to buy things cheap. So it doesn't help you make a beautiful product. You price it correctly, but you've got nowhere to sell it to. You don't have a suitable outlet where it will be suitably placed for that pricing. And there's nothing more frustrating than going to a market where you're competing with cheap Chinese imports. And the people there are expecting to get a budget product at a budget price. Then there's just heartache, because you're going to set yourself up, make a beautiful stand, sit there all day, and nobody's going to pay for it. And they're all going to come and criticize your pricing. And then go and buy the cheap Chinese product next door to you anyway. And my personal gut feeling on this one is that purses are something that cheap Chinese imports do very well. My feeling is that your t-shirt quilts have been doing okay in terms of pricing, because you are serving people who care about those t-shirts. Those t-shirts already have a deeper meaning to them, and they want to entrust that meaning to somebody who they trust will honor the meaning and do a good job and not mess them up. And they are prepared to pay a premium price for that service.
Well, this one reason I stopped doing my t-shirt quilts, I actually have a couple projects right now in the works for people that aren't in a hurry. They're like, oh, we're not in a hurry, just do whenever. And it's a big process. It's a lot of work. And I got rid of my quilting machine, so now I have to physically go to a quilter and have her do it. So it started being, so now all of a sudden now I'm losing money because I'm now, you know, so honestly with the t-shirt quilts, I almost just don't want to do them.
Then don't do them. I don't recommend you do anything that you feel that way about, because one, you've already burned out. Two, there's always that sense of resentment. And three, I believe we should be doing things that we love. So if you're not loving it anymore, don't do it anymore. Don't do it anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I started making pillows with the shirts. Like I started, my daughter graduated from high school last year. And so I called a couple of the parents that she was friends with, and I said, hey, do you have any t-shirts? Because I don't have enough t-shirts from that college. If you give me the t-shirts, I'll make pillows. And a couple of the kids were like, did you make me one? Because they love them, even the boys. Because I was a little leery about making one of the, you know, these were all girls primarily, and then I made one of the boys, and the mom just ranted and raved and said that was the best gift. And he even said, this is the best gift I got. And I'm like, because the college he was going to, and he was still staying at home, going to this college. And I was like, wow, the feedback that I got from that was incredible. And I can make them for pretty cheap. I found pillows, like really cheap at Joann's. I bought like 2 dozen of them, because I bought them in bulk, and I got them, so I can make, and they're quick to make. And so I started digging out some other t-shirts and saying, you know what, this is something that I can keep in house. I don't have to, pay somebody to do it. I can do it fairly quickly, and I can make somewhat of I can make not a huge profit, but small enough profit that I can, just do. And I don't know if it was on your recycled or reusable group, but somebody made a comment that they made baby booties, like little, and they said they sold them for $15, and they were going off the shelf, and they were like crazy. And they said they made them, it didn't even take them 10 to 15 minutes to make a pair. And I thought, so I started looking, and there's some really cute little baby booties that are made with blue jeans, and I can incorporate, I could incorporate things, little scrap pieces that I have that would be, that are really cute. And then somebody else on I think it was on your group, that made a rug that cut out 2-inch squares and made a bunch of rugs, blue jean rugs. And I thought, okay, so I was going to try that out and see, and I could use my industrial machine just to do a line. And, that's what originally I was going to do, rugs, but really did some research on how to make these rugs. So I got one of those twining looms, and I made a couple rugs. And what happened was, from the fiber, it literally got really bad ear infection. Never ever had ear infections my entire life, but I think it was because of the fibers that were coming. And I said, okay, so I couldn't do it for health reasons. So, but really fun, super time consuming. Again, people are on some of the sites, the twining group that I'm on, are like, yeah, I sell them for $200. But let me tell you, you probably put 200 hours into them. So now you're making, $1 an hour. And I'm thinking, okay, that's not cost effective at all.
No,
so then
no.
Maybe that was meant to tell me, hey, I'm not supposed to do that.
Yes, absolutely.
Your universe that is, whether it's inside you or whether it's around you. Yeah.
Yes. So my feeling from what you've said to me is that maybe there is a business for you making cushions for people who are transitioning between second school and university, and maybe even people who are transitioning out of universities. So they have these t-shirts, but they won't be wearing them as t-shirts anymore because they're not in that institution anymore, but they would like a keepsake. And there again, you've got something that they care about, that they have emotion invested in, that they would want to give to a trustworthy source to transform for them. The reason that the cushions sound to me more sensible than the quilts in a financial conversation is because you're able to put them together quickly with the resources that you already have. Now, perhaps there might be a way to create some other kinds of projects. You've mentioned jewelry, maybe cushions and jewelry. But again, I wouldn't invest in new equipment. I would find ways to use the resources that you already have. And only invest in new equipment if it becomes very, very clear that you will be able to pay for that equipment will pay for itself in the process. But there again, it's one thing to sell to your daughter's friends. It might be a different matter selling to people who you don't know, whose kids are just coming through. And do you want to get stuck working with that group is also the question you've got to ask yourself. because it might be novel for a year or two, but it might not be sustainable for 5 years, 10 years. And my feeling is also that that market might likely be seasonal. So it's going to come around at the end of the year when the t-shirts are now worn out, but not at the beginning of the year when they're buying their new t-shirts. And then how do you make a living during that period? So it might be something that you look at as a seasonal product, and then you do other things throughout the rest of the year. Now, a lot of makers who kind of make a living from the things they've made have different kind of tiers of products that they sell. So you'll have your high-end product that you've spent more time on, that is premium priced. But then you also have like a bread and butter kind of a thing that you sell. And that might be your purses. That's a low value product, but that turns over very quickly. So that you then have time and space to wait for the buyers who will buy your premium products. And in the meantime, there's still something for that casual shopper who's prepared to buy at a certain price point, to just spend that $20 or that $50 and then put it in their bag and go off with it. So it's going to be about playing around with the product mix. And again, I'm going to go back to, do you have a market to sell this from? So go and do your research. Where will you be selling it from and at what price? And that might be online, but you still need to do your research. You know, is it going to be in Etsy? Is that market in Etsy already flooded? Are you competing with a lot of people there already? So it's about doing your research about where you're going to sell it will also inform your pricing and what the products need to look like. Does that make sense?
So yes, it does. Everything you're saying, I pretty much have at least at one point thought about, but how do you know that product has flattened? Because that's where I get stuck. I feel no intuition on I see this product and I go, oh my God, what an awesome product. But then I'm thinking, how do I know it's already done and over with?
So you've got to test it on the market who you've got access to, who will buy it. And also very often, you know, Pinterest might be flooded with a thing, but that might be because everybody's making their own. You know, you can get a false sense of demand. Just because there's lots of it on Pinterest doesn't mean that there's lots of people buying it. It just means there's lots of it on Pinterest. You know, and things will, and things will come around in cycles. So for example, in 2005, I started selling tie-dyed finishes to the fashion industry in South Africa. Okay. And I went into a designer studio who that year told me that I would be a one-hit wonder, that I would only be able to sell tie-dye for one season and never, ever again. Because they did it in the 70s, now it was trending in 2005 and it wouldn't happen again. What I've learned is that it doesn't matter what trend is out there, it typically comes around in cycles. Okay, and it'll come around in 5-year cycles or in 10-year cycles. But that in spite of those trends, there are also people who will consistently buy those things year on year just because they like them. Now, if you can tap into that market, you'll be fine. So I was able to find a market back in the 90s where people were ready to come back to me every single week for a tie-dyed t-shirt, even when it wasn't a fashion trend. Because those who liked wearing tie-dyed t-shirts were just delighted to have found a consistent source where they could come back for more when the one they had became worn out, or if they wanted 2 or 3 in their cupboard. So if you can find a niche, there's no reason you can't sell it year on year. And what very often happens in that case is that you just become bored and burned out with making the product, as you've seen with the t-shirt quilts that you've been making.
So back to your tie-dye, were you a one-hit wonder, or is it still going?
So I burned out. I burned out
Okay.
several times. And also I kept moving my goalposts. So I spent 8 years selling t-shirts at the flea market. Then I burned myself out. I took a break. I then decided I was so sick of people telling me that tie-dye was only for hippies that I was going to take it to the fashion industry if it killed me. So then I spent a decade selling it to fashion designers in Johannesburg, and I did all the fashion weeks and things. And there once again I burned myself out because I was, my challenge when I didn't make enough money off a thing because my pricing was out of whack was to just work more hours. I used to typically in the 90s and the 2000s pull an all-nighter once a week, and you do burn out when you work like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I re-engineered the business. I pivoted the business and I started selling kits, and then I became a teacher. And I published 2 books. So for my personal challenge is boredom in the process also. I can't do the same thing for 30 years. I met somebody some time back who's been making tie-dyed t-shirts for 30 years. Okay. And when I listened to her, I was like, that sounds like purgatory to me. If I was still stuck in the 90s, I'd want to shoot myself.
That's funny you say that, because I kind of think the total opposite when I meet somebody that has been doing something for 30 years, because I'm an artist. So I have that, I can't sit still kind of attitude with any product or anything, actually, including my own body. And so when I meet somebody who has done, whether they've done a product for 30 years or a career, I think, why can't I be like that? Why can't I be normal like that?
Well, you're my kind of normal. I've got to reinvent it every 5 years. And then what I find is because I want to reinvent it for myself every 5 years because of my threshold for boredom, by the time people are ready to buy it and they know that's what I'm doing, I'm now already doing something else. So I now have people who typically come to me and say to me, I bought a tie-dye kit from you 10 years ago. I'm ready to buy another one from you. And I'm sorry, I'm not doing that anymore.
Right. Right.
So you've also got to. Sorry?
How do you get over the fact that, so how do you feel? And this is just, I'm just asking you because I sometimes feel like, oh, maybe I should go back, revisit it again. If it's almost like it was a sign, somebody coming my way saying, hey, I have this t-shirt, I have this kit. I want to buy another one from you. Because that's what kind of happened to me with these 2 quilts that I have. The one lady called me out of the blue. She was dating her now husband, and she found me to make him a t-shirt quilt. And she came to me years later and said, okay, now I'm ready to do my t-shirt quilt. And I wanted to say to her, I don't do this anymore. But I sat there and went, the excitement came up on, oh, I got a customer, yay, So I did it, and now it's still sitting in my sewing room, which I started like digging through my sewing room. That's the other thing. I've let my sewing room go to hell, basically. It's a disaster in there. So I don't even want to go in there to sew and create anything because I'm kind of stuck. But I'm thinking I need to like pull everything out of it and organize it and finish these 2 quilts and then start over and then come up with a product. I like this idea.
Yeah. So I typically don't go back. You might be different. You might be different. But I typically can't go back. And I can tell you what my barometer is.
Okay.
My barometer is if I try to go back and I'm standing and doing it and it feels like hell, I know I don't want to be doing it anymore. And then I invent something that is new and interesting to me that I can be fired up about and excited about, because it is so much easier to make repeat sales to people when you are fired up and excited about something than when you're feeling, I'm just going back and this is drudgery for me. So I listen
Right.
to what my own body tells me. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Yes, absolutely. I think I
must
go
just
back.
interrupt you here. I've just got the notification. We've got 5 minutes.
Okay. So I go back because of guilt. Like,
Oh, no, that's
well,
not a great reason.
it's not a good reason. I agree.
It's not a great reason.
And I also go back because I think, oh my God, I got like, not excited and fired up, but I got, like, oh, gee, somebody is in need for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, look, that was like a compliment. And it is, I should just take it as what it is and keep walking, keep moving.
If you can get excited about it, do it. If you're not excited about it, don't do it. Life's too short.
Life is too short. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. This was a pleasant conversation.
Was this conversation useful to you?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Awesome.
It's made me that I need to refocus on what I need to do.
Okay. And are you okay with me publishing this?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
I was thinking, I started getting personal with my life. I'm thinking, I don't know if I want this published, but if you want it, what do you think?
So I would like to publish it because I feel that the conversation can be very useful to a lot of other people who might be feeling the same way you are.
Okay, then let's do it.
Okay, but I won't publish it if you're not comfortable with it.
No, I'm okay. You're right. It's about teaching other people and helping other people.
Okay, awesome, awesome. The pressure wouldn't have been so much on you if more of the people who said they were coming had arrived.
But this was nice. I felt like it was a personal, just for me, you know.
Okay, awesome. So thank you so much for sharing with the people who are watching today.
Yeah.
I appreciate it very much. And thank you for sharing your experience so that others can learn from it too. I appreciate that very much.
And thank you for everything you do for our group too, our groups, plural.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. I love that you participate.
Thank you so much.